الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفوته من خلقه وحبيبه، قد بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الغمة وجاهد في سبيل دينه حتى أتاه اليقين. فاللهم اجزه عنا وعن والدينا وعن الإسلام والمسلمين خير ما جازيت به نبيا عن قومه ورسولا عن أمته. اللهم أحينا على سنته وآمتنا على ملته، واحشرنا تحت لوائه وأوردنا حوضه، واسقنا من يده الشريفة شربة هنيئة لا نظمأ بعدها أبدا. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كلام الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد بن عبد الله، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. أعاذنا الله وإياكم من عذاب النار. One of the most fundamental ayat of the Quran is the ayah in Surah Al-Ahzab, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إنا عرضنا الأمانة على السماوات والأرض والجبال فأبين أن يحملنها وأشفقن منها وحملها الإنسان إنه كان ظلوما جهولا. We have presented the Amanah and will explain the Amanah. You could call it the trust, you could call it the responsibility. Whatever you carry of anything or any responsibility, it could be your trust. Inna aradna al-amana, we have presented the amana or the trust to the heavens, the mountains, and the earth, and they declined to carry it. They declined, the Quran says. أَبَيْنَ أَن يَحْمِلْنَهَا, and they felt too weak to carry it. But man carried that responsibility. This is one of those ayat where the orders are not coming in the form that is norm in the Quran. The Quran uses the form, Ya ayyuhan nas u'budu rabbakum, O mankind, worship Allah. Or, O you who believe, do this and don't do this. Here it's talking about man as a human. As a human, we people accepted to bear the responsibility and the trust from Allah directly. وَحَمَلَهَا الْإِنسَانِ, man accepted to bear the responsibility and the trust. إِنَّهُ كَانَ ظَلُومًا جَهُولًا, man is definitely a wrongdoer and he is unjust. He has been unjust. What is this amana? In the language, amana from amina. Amina, from it comes istamana, to entrust someone with something. In Arabic it is istamana, to give somebody something, to keep, to protect, to grow for you until you come and ask for it, or until it's due time for him to deliver to you. This is what amana is. So it includes the fact that whatever we carry of responsibility, there must be a time limit to deliver it back to the one who gave it to us. Who delivered the amana to us? Allah. Who is going to receive it from us? Allah. Amana comes in shapes and forms that are unlimited. But let us focus on the issue of the Amanah being the trust of all humans, which means this is not only the believers or the disbelievers, the atheist or the agnostic. Every human being has received this Amanah. Again, we need to define this Amanah. And to define this Amanah, we need to go to the ayah of Surah Al-A'raf, which we explained several times before, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken from the backs of the children of Adam the seeds of their own offspring and has set them out and asked them, Am I not your Lord? Alastu bi rabbikum? Qalu bala. They said, yes, certainly. This is the Amanah, to recognize Allah as your creator, as your master, as your source of everything, guidance, protection, provision, security. Everything you need comes from His generous hands, which means we owe everything to Him. Before we were here, before He had created the first human being, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heavens and the earth and prepared them for our arrival. Amazing. Amazing. And then He tells us, it is He who subjected the heavens and the earth for us to use. So He furnished the earth with this crust, which we call the surface. He provided the earth. 73% of the earth is covered with water. We need a lot of water. Allah provides us with all and more than we need. Imagine if you have to pay for your breath to get oxygen, and if you have to pay to get out carbon dioxide from your lungs out. Poor will not have a chance to live, not even one day, because man is a selfish, greedy creature. So from the outset, Allah tells us that the Amanah, the trust, will be your key. Keeping your trusts will be your key to Allah's acceptance. But is the Amanah just a personal relationship between us and Allah? No. Amanah, as we said in the beginning, is not only between the believer and Allah, it is between every human being. It goes back to where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا. It is the nature of creatures to recognize their creators. If the mountains are chanting the praise of Allah, if the birds are chanting the praise of Allah, why isn't the man, the human being, engaged in the praise of Allah? Because man is ظَلُومًا جَهُولًا. He takes anything you give him and he doesn't want to give back, even what you entrusted him with. Go to the closest of friends and ask them for a large sum of money and see the hesitation and the calculation. But go to anyone you even do not know and he doesn't know you and give him a large sum of anything. Would you see hesitation? You have cash, green, $10,000, you're saying, go to the supermarket. Who's going to resist it? Maybe somebody will think it's fake and they may hesitate. But if they know what you have, will they hesitate? No, they will not. So man is a selfish, destructive wrongdoer. But Allah sent His guidance and sent His prophets to teach us how to control our greed and our selfish souls, how to retrain ourselves to override our wickedness with our righteousness, the two sides of our souls. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. Unless you train yourself to use its righteousness as the first and best choice, you are sliding into wickedness. Because by definition, the soul is inclined to both righteousness and wickedness. It seems, though, that wickedness is the first impulse. Unless you change yourself, wickedness will continue to be your first impulse. Look at children. Could there be any adult who is as natural, as innocent as children? No way. Children, the first impulse is to take and not to give. That's the first impulse. The first impulse is to keep, not to give. The first impulse is they love to be loved, and it takes them time to love someone back. They reflect the crude nature of every human being. As we grow older, we start using other methods than childish impulses. So we use negotiations, we use give and take, we use exchange of things. I will give you this, you give me that. And that's what the world economy is based on, give and take. And everybody has to value the other side for what he or she gives back. Back to the Amanah. The Amanah, or the trusts, are everything Allah asks us to keep or do. But Amanah also is everything that Allah has given us. If you have children, you need to consider them for who they are. They are Amanah. They are a trust. A trust is different from property. Property you can dispense of in any way you want. You can destroy your own property, which is not allowed in Islam. But I'm saying, logically speaking, if you own a property, you want to destroy it and build a new one, it's up to you. You are free to deal with what you own. But if it is Amanah, it means someone else owns it, not you. So let us talk about the most important Amanah Allah has given us, which is our life. And at the core of our life is our heart. And at the core of our heart is our conscience. And at the core of our conscience is our faith. And at the core and essence of our faith are every human being around us. You see how expansive Amanah is. Which means your life, you do not own it. Do you own your life? Can you dispose of your own life? It's prohibited. Suicide is prohibited. Murder is prohibited. Unless it is in self-defense. But other than that, you do not murder someone just because you hate them, or they believe differently, or they are of different color or ethnicity or creed. None of that. So life is an Amanah. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the right as the giver and the owner of life, that only He can give it and only He is to take it. So your child is an Amanah. You cannot kill your child, and the Quran speaks to this very clearly. Don't kill yourself is one. Don't kill your children out of poverty, and don't kill your children for fear of poverty. So that's where you get, as Muslims, that every life is sacred in its own right. Because We don't own it, we don't make it, and we should never take it. It's up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the one who owns and the one who gives is the one who sets the rules as to how you use what he gives you. Likewise, who is Ar-Razzaq? Ar-Razzaq is Allah. He is the one who provides every creature of His, and all creatures are His. So even an ant walking in your room, it's a life. It's a life. If it didn't hurt you, you don't hurt it. Just let go. Don't let your fear control your behavior. Otherwise, you will end up violating your own faith and your own rules that you must live by. So life is sacred in its own right, and human life is on the top of every other living thing. That's why we are allowed to slaughter animals that are allowed for us to slaughter for food. But could we kill them just for joy? Should we? No. No, you should not. Even in wars, you're fighting your enemies. And the Prophet ﷺ says to his companions, do not kill an animal except for food. So Muslims do not go out of their way to pillage and squander and waste neither living people or living things, even at war. If somebody is not carrying a weapon, if somebody is not attacking you, leave them alone. Somebody is worshiping in their own temple or church or synagogue, leave them alone. Don't go after people to kill them, those who are not fighting you. And Islam prohibits attacking anybody who is not fighting you. All the commands to fight in the Quran are never to initiate a fight. All the commands are to fight back. And I can take you through one ayah after another after another. So life is one of the biggest trusts. At the heart of life is your heart. You have to keep it. The Prophet ﷺ says, indeed, there is this part of the body that if you keep it righteous, which means leave it to its nature, if you leave it to its nature, in saluha, saluha al-jasadu kullu. If that heart is good, the whole body will be good. If that heart is wicked, the whole body will act and behave wickedly. So we need to work on our heart. At the core of our heart is our conscience, which unfortunately Western civilization has killed the conscience by driving Allah out of public life. We Muslims need to work with other spiritual communities to bring Allah to public life, so that we get people to lead us and represent our country according to our faith values. After all religions agree to certain values, and we must align ourselves with those communities that are still willing to bring God to guide our values and our principles and our lives. That's part of the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. The Quran talks about this in Surah number 5, Al-Ma'idah, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى, and cooperate in matters of goodness and righteousness. وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ, do not cooperate or conspire on matters of aggression and harm. In the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, let there be no harm to yourself, nor should you harm others. لا ضرر ولا ضرار. To protect yourself, you have to protect everybody around you. You say, even my enemies, especially your enemies. Your enemies, they need to be inoculated through your goodness and righteousness and faith and compassion. If you isolate your enemies and they are bigger or more or stronger than you are actually isolating yourself. So you have to do what the Quran says. Cooperate in matters of goodness and righteousness, and never cooperate in matters of aggression and sinfulness. That is what the Quran is telling us. So the first amanah we must watch is keeping life. The second is to keep our faith and to protect it, and to protect everybody's right to choose their faith without coercion, compulsion, or pressure, or even temptation. Only faith that is based on conviction is acceptable by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So anybody that anyone coerces or forces to change their faith under pressure, they are deceiving themselves first. Because it's not faith that is based on coercion, pressure, or temptation, or buying out people, or feeding the poor and giving them a book to tell them, believe in this, this will save you. All of these tricks would not lead to real faith. So the second amanah that we must keep up with is our faith in Allah, that it must be protected. It must be only for the sake of Allah, that you believe in Him, not because you like someone you want to get married to, or you want to partner with somebody for business. Allah would never accept to come as a second thought in your life. So you love somebody to spouse or to marry, and then they tell you, you must change your faith for me to accept you. If you do this, you're selling your Lord that you believe in for a person you love. How cheap this is. And it's quite unfortunate to say that some Muslims are willing to do that. They are willing to change their faith to marry someone, if not by pronouncement, by violating it. Because, for example, a Muslim woman is not allowed to marry a non-Muslim. And there are reasons for that. We can talk about it. But some sisters, they go out of their way to hook up with somebody who's out of their faith, and after a love of a year or two or more, and maybe more than just love, they come to their family and say, I love this man. Then the family says, is he a Muslim? She says, no, but he's willing to come to Islam. And the only reason he wants to come to Islam is for the marriage to go forward. So where is Allah? What is the value of God in this person's life? How much love does he have for Allah? Even beyond this issue, how much does he know about the Islamic faith? In fact, he is not to blame how much she knows about her own Islamic faith. So we need to be clear that we teach our children strong belief and faith that they are convinced and comfortable with, not just the practice. Unfortunately, we look at practice as a sign of understanding. These are not one and the same. There are Muslims who are born Muslims, and they grew up as Muslims, and they are superficially related to Islam. Why? Because of the superficial level of knowledge. they have. It's not to blame. Allah will be the judge for everyone, but it is to point to the issue that the tree leaf that falls first from any tree is the leaf that is the weakest connected to the branch. That's the first leaf to fall. So before you see your children falling out of faith, you must work to give them the right connection to Allah, to His book, to the Prophet, to his own history, so that your children will grow strongly connected and it becomes difficult for them to fall. Not at the first corner, not at the first challenge, not even in a fight over their faith. That's Amanah. The Prophet ﷺ in the hadith, he says, كَفَى بِالْمَرْءِ إِثْمًا أَنْ يُضَيِّعَ مَنْ يَعُولُ. It's enough of a sin for any responsible person to waste his dependents. How do we waste our dependents? By not caring for them. By not caring. The Prophet ﷺ also says, وَالرَّجُلُ فِي بَيْتِهِ رَاعٍ وَمَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. You are a shepherd and a caretaker for your own family, and you are responsible for your dependents. Your wife and your children are your responsibility. وَالْمَرْأَةُ فِي بَيْتِ زَوْجِهَا رَاعِيَةٌ وَمَسْئُولَةٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهَا. The woman in her home, she is also a caretaker and a shepherd, and she is responsible for her own flock, meaning her children. So those responsibilities are part of the Amanah that we must pay attention to. It's not only just our life, it's not just our money. Fundamentally, it is people that Allah has entrusted into our hands. It goes further. Your parents grow old, and as they grow older, they become more dependent than they used to be. They become the Amanah for their children to take care of their needs and to meet their expectations. وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. And say, O Allah, bestow your mercy upon them as they have taken care of me when I was young. We know the story of the man who went to complain against his father because his father grew old and he started to need. He could not work. So he would take some money from his son. And his son wants to build his life and his business. So he went to complain to the Prophet ﷺ, saying, my father is taking my own money. Because when both are financially strong, their finance is separate. But when your father becomes poor and you have the means, then another rule kicks in. So the Prophet ﷺ called the father and he told him, are you taking money from your son's wealth? And the man answered, telling the Prophet ﷺ, O Messenger of Allah, I raised him when he was helpless and I was powerful. I gave him when I was wealthy and he was poor. I gave him when he had nothing and I had everything. I gave him wishing him life and prosperity, and now he is giving me and wishing me death. And the man started to weep. The Prophet ﷺ wept and teared down for the weeping of the old man. And he turned to the young man and he told him, أنت ومالك لأبيك. You and your wealth are for your father. You and your wealth you belong to your father. He is the one who gave his life literally to bring you where you are. So not only children are the Amanah, but parents also become an Amanah at times. Some of us, unfortunately, are following the norm of the society. When parents get old, we throw them into nursing homes. Because my wife doesn't want to do this, and my husband doesn't want to do this, and my children are annoyed by this. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us. The Muslim society is the society that taught the Europeans for 800 years how family should work and how family life should be. From rearing children to everything else. It just doesn't work that they benefit from the wealth of knowledge, customs and norms and habits that our forefathers taught them, and then we end up picking their worst habits and thinking that this is civilization. This is not civil, let alone civilization. It's not civil to throw your mom or your dad in a nursing home when you can take care of them. They covered you when they could have left you, but that's not Islam. They kept you at home. Even when you were rebellious, disobedient, and difficult, and miserable, they still kept you at home to protect you even from yourself. If you don't return favor to those two whom Allah gave you life through, what Amanah will you ever take care of if this Amanah is not paid back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So brothers and sisters, the issue of Amanah is what protects us from electing people who would stash $96,000 of bribes into their freezer. Because with Amanah comes conscience. If you are conscious, then you would not take a bribe to start with, let alone hide it and cheat the society that elected you as a representative. It is not Amanah to market a war against another nation on false pretenses, lying and deception. And we should hold our elected officials responsible, because societies are like people. Communities are like people. We grow strong, and then in due course of time we become weaker. وَتِلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. And those days we recycle amongst nations and communities and people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives certain communities power at certain time, and when they obfuscate their responsibility, Allah will call them down and raise another nation to carry whatever good the previous nations have left. So civilization is not going down. It's not going to be squandered unless we destroy it with our own hands. Wars of aggression are absolutely prohibited. Islam never allowed a Muslim community to commit aggression. It always instructed Muslims to push back against aggression, even if it is committed by a Muslim community. Read, if you will, in Surah Al-Hijrah, وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ اقْتَتَلُوا. If two community of believers got into a fight, فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا. Reconcile between them. فَإِن بَغَتْ إِحْدَاهُمَا عَلَى الْأُخْرَى. If one of them transgressed against the other, فَقَاتِلُوا الَّتِي تَبْغِي. Fight the one that commits aggression. For us to see our nation committing aggression against nations that never crossed an ocean to come to our shores, and we are sitting still, that is an abdication of responsibility. It is an escape from the Amanah that Allah entrusted us with. Amanah also is to keep the peace and the security, not just for yourself or your community or your family, but both for the nation you live in and for all other nations that have never committed aggression against you. That's Amanah. You see, one word, if we understand, one principle, if we live by, the world around us will have a different face to live with, will have a different atmosphere, different relations. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide our hearts to recognize all the amanat and to return all the amanat to Allah. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وبعد. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Brothers and sisters, in the atmosphere we are going through today, some emotions get high, and it is on us to keep the cool hearts and the cool-minded approach to everything. We should never fear anybody, and we should never scare anybody. One way that we scare people is in our silence. In our silence, people who talk, they steal the day from us, because they are not telling your story, they are not talking positively about you, they are telling their own fear-mongering. That's what they are doing. Silence in the face of Islamophobia is betrayal of Islam. Silence in the face of disinformation and misinformation about Islam is a betrayal of our faith. We need to stand up and speak up, form friendships and alliances with fair-minded, peace-loving communities around us, but we should never sit still or stay silent. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to stand for justice, for peace, and for tranquility in our community and in our society. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت. اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما تحول به بيننا وبين معصيتك ومن طاعتك ما تبلغنا به جنتك ومن اليقين ما تهون به علينا مصائب الدنيا ومتعنا اللهم بأسماعنا وأبصارنا وقوتنا ما أحييتنا واجعله الوارث منا واجعل ثأرنا على من ظلمنا ولا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا ولا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا ولا إلى النار مصيرنا وإذا أردت بقومنا فتنة فنجنا منها يا مولانا غير خزايا ولا مفتونين ولا مبدلين ولا مغيرين. اللهم لا تدع لنا في يومنا هذا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا دينا إلا قضيته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا مبتلا إلا عافيته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا كربا إلا نفسته ولا ميتا إلا رحمته ولا مجاهدا إلا نصرته ولا ظالما إلا قصمته. اللهم عليك بالظالمين والجبارين والمعتدين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين وأعلي بفضلك يا رب كلمتي الحق والدين. اللهم آمنا في أوطاننا وأصلح أئمتنا وولاة أمورنا واجعل ولايتنا في من خافك واتقاك واتبع رضاك. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم، فستذكرون ما أقول لكم، وأفوض أمري إلى الله، إن الله بصير بالعباد. وأقم الصلاة.